Hello and welcome to the podcast. This is Ron's Amazing Stories. We have stories that should thrill you a little and chill you a little.
It's amazing.
What you'll hear are adventures sent in by you guys, classic stories from the pulp mags, and episodes from the golden age of radio. We have special segments like Ghost Stories with Sylvia.
That's amazing.
And These Are Your Stories. So settle in for the next hour and enjoy the show. One more thing. You just might want to prepare yourself to be taken away from today.
Another 5-minute mystery.
This 5-minute mystery is being brought to you by The Living Dead.
Is that a foreshadow of the show or our 5-minute mystery?
Both.
I see.
You see what?
I see that we are in for it today.
That we are. Now, let's get to our FFM today. It's off to Cuba and a date with a zombie.
Far to the south, hidden in the mysterious low country of Cuba, a sugar plantation house, dimly lighted in the somber dusk. In the parlor of the house sits a small, thin woman.
Lester Lockwood was my brother, Inspector. His wife, Nydia, drove him to throw himself off the river bank.
Suppose you tell me the whole story.
Well, 2 years ago, my brother and his wife left their professorships in the English department at Lynbrook College and came here to live and write. As time went by, Nydia became fascinated by the native drums. One night, she wandered alone in the jungle.
And never came back. Yes, I remember.
And then the first of those mysterious notes appeared, written in blood on dried bark. I have been chosen, it said, for one of the living dead. Come to me, Lester, and share my eternity. It was signed, Nydia. Lester watched for her, certain somehow she'd come for him. And last night, we were standing on the jungle path.
Judith, the drums. They're getting louder. She will come, I know she will.
Oh, Lester, give up this plantation. It's evil.
It's too late. She's here. Listen. Do you hear that?
What?
A movement. Yonder beyond the trees. Look.
Oh, Lester, it is Nydia.
It's true. Judith, my wife's one of the living dead.
Lester, come back.
I've got to find her and save her from this voodoo magic.
He ran off in the darkness, and I went quickly back to the house to wait. And at last, Lester came back.
I couldn't find her. I looked everywhere.
Then you've got to come away from this place tonight.
Judith, look, here on the window ledge.
Oh, another of those terrible notes. What does it say?
You are a human. You cannot know the glory of eternal life. Come to the jungle, to the drums, and share my living death. Keep this between you and I.
Oh, she's trying to destroy you. Trying to, Lester.
I'm going to her, Judith.
No.
Lydia's waiting for me to come.
Lester, come back. Come back.
And this is the note your brother found last night on the window ledge, Miss Lockwood. Eh?
Yes. Others, I suppose he destroyed them.
I see. And you say your brother's wife was formerly an English instructor?
At Lynbrook. She met Lester there.
Your story, Miss Lockwood, is interesting, and I think I know the truth. But the chief at headquarters would rather hear it from you, so come along.
What was the clue that led Inspector James to arrest Judith Lockwood? In a moment, he'll tell us, but first...
Wow. The Living Dead.
I have to admit, we haven't had zombies to talk about before.
We have, but it's been a while. That note she sent. I didn't know that zombies could even write.
Great Scott. I think you have inadvertently solved this one.
What do you mean?
Who wrote the note?
Or more importantly, why was her grammar so informal?
You know what? You make an idiot seem smart.
Nice.
And now, here's Inspector James.
Under questioning, Judith Lockwood broke down and confessed to the murder of her brother and his wife. She was a pretty mixed-up woman, but she had imagination. I knew Judith had written the note herself because no instructor of the English language is going to make 2 grammatical errors in 4 short sentences. You don't say human for human being. And nothing is ever between you and I. So, if you didn't know, let's keep it between you and me.
See? I told you the grammar was off.
Well, at least she confessed.
So maybe I'm a smart idiot after all.
Wrong. I will concede that point.
Well, thank you. I think.
As idiots go, you are one of the best at what you do.
Keep flattering me like that, and I just might give you some more airtime.
Oh, joy.
What's that you say?
Hello, and welcome to the podcast. Now I'll bet that you think, based on the podcast title, that this entire show is dedicated to zombies. Well, it's not.
That's false advertising.
Perhaps. But we do have zombies on the show, so we're all good. We also have not one, but 2 Blackstone The Magic Detective episodes, some really great stories from you guys, and even a science fiction short that is quite amazing.
Well, okay then.
I thought you would think so. Now, let's get to it. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/Ron's Amazing Stories. Audible has sponsored the show now since July of 2019. We have reviewed more than 140 audiobooks, and the list keeps growing. Did you know that Audible has over 200,000 books available? And a lot of those are included in the free catalog. Audible is amazing, and it is the perfect companion to Ron's Amazing Stories. If you like this podcast, you're going to love Audible. So what am I listening to? Moon, the Dragon Prince, Book 1 by Aaron Ehas and narrated by Adrian Petru. Now I have to tell you, I have a soft spot for well-told fantasy stories, and this one fits the bill. Rather than try to explain it to you, let's get right to our promo for this audiobook because it does an excellent job of introducing it.
Long ago, Zadia was one land, rich in magic and wonder. In the old days, there was only the deep magic, which came from the 6 primal sources: the sun, the moon, the stars, the earth, the sky, the ocean. Every living creature in Zadia was born with the gift of magic. A spark inside connected to one of the 6 primal sources. From the greatest dragon to the smallest insect, magic flowed in their veins. But humans were different. Humans were flawed. They were born without this gift. Back in ancient times, the humans struggled to survive in the world, while the Zadian creatures thrived. Many humans perished from starvation. Others died fighting one another over the scarce resources. Unicorns were always the most selfless of the Zadian beings. There came a time when, filled with pity, they desperately wanted to help the struggling humans. After all, it was not the humans' choice to have been born without magic. But the first elves were wary. They warned the unicorns that kindness was not always returned with kindness. It would be a mistake to trust the species. After all, if humans were supposed to use magic, they would have been born with it. However, the unicorns' compassion ran deep, and they could not be convinced. So, despite the elves' warning, the unicorns bestowed the ways of magic onto the humans. They gifted a few wise humans with powerful orbs called primal stones, which contained vast magical energy. Then they taught them to draw runes, to attract and focus the stone's power, and to speak the ancient words used by dragons to release that energy as magical spells. Finally, humans had the ability to take care of themselves and end their own suffering. They fed their hungry, cared for their poor, and healed their sick. As they thrived, they elevated humankind in other ways, learning about the world and the stars and the arts. They created songs and poetry and other beautiful things. But the elves were right about one thing. Humans were unpredictable. While most were good, some were not. One human mage discovered a new way to use magic that was swift and facile, but also dangerous and intense. This method used the essence within magical creatures themselves to unleash incredible power. Some called it new magic, or the seventh source. But it came to be known as dark magic. Dark mages and their followers began to hunt and poach magical creatures throughout Zadia, for they needed fuel for their spells. A griffin's talon, a feather from a moon phoenix, any part of a creature where magic was concentrated. Perhaps the most valuable and sought-after prize of all was a unicorn's horn. Eventually, the humans hunted the unicorns until they disappeared completely from Zadia. The elves and the dragons were disgusted and outraged by what they saw. They were convinced the annihilation of humans was necessary and inevitable. But at the last moment, a daughter of the elven leader proposed the merciful compromise. She asked that humans be allowed to move and settle the lands to the west. Beneath a half-moon, the Dragon Queen, who was called Luna Tenebris, rendered judgment that was both cruel and kind. Humans were cast out, but they were spared. And so, the continent was divided in two. Erebos of the First Elves.
4 moons have passed. Humans have crossed into the magical lands of Zandia and committed an unspeakable crime. They destroyed the only egg of the Dragon King and Queen. Now a young moon shadow elf assassin has been sent on her very first mission. She will make the humans pay for their heinous act. But before she can complete her task, she and 2 human princes make an astonishing discovery. A discovery that could change everything. And so, the 3 reluctant allies set off in a desperate attempt to stop the incoming war. Their journey won't be easy, but the trio soon learns that the most serious threat to their quest can't be fought with magic or physical strength. Can these young heroes overcome the long-standing hatred between humans and elves and restore peace to their world? This book tells that story. Moon, the Dragon Prince, was written by Aaron Ehas. You might know him better as the head writer of Avatar: The Last Airbender. This is an amazing journey along the ilk of Lord of the Rings, but is told in a simple and fun way that keeps you wanting more. It is full of adventure, rollicking action, and even some humor thrown in to round it into an amazing story. You will not regret having spent your free credit on this one. Now, if this appeals to you, head to audibletrial.com/Ron's Amazing Stories, and you can have Moon, the Dragon Prince, for free. Here is what Audible has set up for us. They are offering a free audiobook and 30 days to give you the opportunity to check out their service. This also gains you access to the included catalog, which is being updated constantly with new titles. So to download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/Ron's Amazing Stories. Thank you, Audible. And now, it's time for your stories.
These are your stories, sent by you, for you.
This story was sent in by Robert Feast of Illinois. It was sent in via the website, and Robert has titled it, The Old Man on the Road. Hello, Ron. This story took place a few weekends ago when a friend and I were driving to see Little Big Town in concert. It was about an hour and a half away from where we live, give or take. He had picked me up from my house and the sky was clear, but it started raining heavily about 15-20 minutes into the drive. It became so heavy that my friend and I weren't talking to each other, and the music was turned way down so he could focus on the road, which, by the way, was practically invisible due to the rain. It was like this for another 10 to 15 minutes, but then the rain lightened up a bit. This pattern would continue throughout our whole drive to the show and back. We were on our way home and were talking and laughing, now that we didn't have to focus so much on the driving. Then, right in front of us, about 30 feet, I saw a man walking on the left side of the road, along the grass strip that separates the lanes going in different directions. The man was older, maybe around 60, and wearing all white. Cliché, I know, but it is what it is. I saw this man just appear out of thin air right in front of the car. The view was clear and the road was straight, so he couldn't have crossed the road or been walking on it without one of us seeing him. I hadn't been looking at my phone or my friend either, so I couldn't have been distracted. He just came out of nowhere. It took a minute before my friend noticed him too. We zipped by this man and my friend yelled something like, "Holy crap! Where did that guy come from?" We were both a little freaked out now, and I turned back to look out the back window, while my friend slowed down and checked the rearview mirror. Neither of us could see the man at all. He just vanished as quickly as he appeared. My friend asked me if I saw the same thing as him. I told him, and jokingly asked him if he believed in ghosts now. I've always been a believer, and I've had a few other experiences before, but he is a huge skeptic about all these things. He didn't answer me for a moment, but then he started laughing and said, "Yeah, maybe I do." We moved the conversation on after a few minutes, but after the event we both kept our eye out on the road for the man. Of course, we didn't see him. I rarely have a supernatural/paranormal experience with anyone else there to confirm that I'm not crazy. I still have no idea what happened exactly, but I'm wondering if anyone out there has had a similar experience on the road. Robert Feast from Illinois. Well, Robert, I've heard a few stories like this before, and I've had something similar happen to me in a parking lot. I pretty much know how you feel. Could it have been a trick of the eye? Maybe. Send me where you were and I'll do some research. By the way, I looked up Little Big Town concerts and they were in Chicago July 8th, so that part of your story tracks. Thank you for sharing your story. This one presents two sides of a story. We all see things differently, and that's what makes life so interesting. It comes from Alex Hannibal. No, we won't go there. From Aurora, Colorado. Alex is currently a postal worker there and served 2 tours of duty as a Marine in Afghanistan. Thank you for your service. Alex has titled this one, The Haunted Painting. Hey Ron, when I was a kid I used to live in a haunted house, confirmed by my mom, family, and some family friends. So today I have a story to tell. Sorry if my writing is not the best. I had a hard time thinking about this. First, I'm going to tell my side of the story. I'm sorry if the details are a bit fuzzy because, well, I don't remember much. I was only like 3 or 4 years old. Circa 1994, I lived in a house with my mom. I don't have any brothers or sisters, and I always wanted one to play with because, well, I felt lonely sometimes. I remember that some days I used to play between a wall and the door of my bedroom with a little girl. You know, when the door is open slightly and the angle is formed between the door and the wall. I always thought that she was my imaginary friend because I would often hear about them in movies and TV shows. I remember my mom asking about my imaginary friend, and I told her that her face was covered in some sort of mud or dirt, and that all I could see were her eyes. I told my mom that she was in a car accident, and that's why her face was like that. I still remember that face so vividly to this day. I'm 32 at the moment. I remember my mom used to have friends with her in our house, and they would often stay in the living room talking about stuff. My mom always told me to stay in her bedroom until they were gone. Some strange things happened at that time. My mom would often visit a grave of a friend of hers that had recently passed away, and she would cry a lot, saying things like, "Take me with you, I can't do this anymore," and stuff like that. I never thought about it much because I was so little and I didn't understand what was going on. Fast forward a few years, 2004, 2005, my mom was getting married and the photographer was a friend of hers. I'm going to call her Laura. So before the photo session, we went to Laura's house and they started talking about some random stuff, and then something pops out at me. Laura asked my mom if our house was still haunted. Something clicked, and I started asking questions to both Mom and Laura. Laura told me that one time she went to her house and there was nobody there. She wrote something on a post-it note and stuck it on our front door. While she was doing this, she saw the curtains move as if someone had stuck their head to look outside. She found that quite strange and asked my mom about it. My mom told her the story about what was going on. After that, I started questioning my mom about it, and she finally told me the whole story. Here is what she told me. Apparently, in 1994, my mom worked as the same place as a neighbor, a girl about the same age as my mom. I'm going to call her Abigail. They became close friends. Abigail's mom used to sell paintings, and my mom asked to buy one that had a couple of angels and a Bible verse. It's worth mentioning that I don't remember this painting at all. Right after this, Abigail and her 5-year-old daughter were killed in a car accident. When my mom got the painting hung up, strange stuff started happening in our home. She would often see the apparition of a woman and a little girl. The woman was always in a bad mood, and sometimes our house would start to freeze for no reason in some of the rooms. Where we lived at the time had an average temperature of 104 in the summer. Also, things would break and stuff would fall off the shelves. So my mom started looking for help and called the church group to come pray in our home. The group of friends that I mentioned earlier. There wasn't any improvement in the situation, so she and my grandma went to see some sort of medium. My mom told her about what was happening in our house at the time, and that she would often visit her friend's grave and cry for help. The medium told my mom that when she went to visit her friend's grave, she wasn't talking to her friend. She was talking to something or someone else. The medium wanted to go to our house and see for herself. When she got there, she told my mom that the house had several spirits and that they came from something inside the home. She asked if my mom was given a present or maybe that she had bought something new when everything started to happen. My mom told her about the painting. The medium told her to burn the painting because it could be what was causing everything. So my mom called her brother and they tried to burn it, but it wouldn't catch fire. She went back to the medium some days later, and with her help, they were able to destroy it. After that, everything went back to normal. We eventually moved to a new city and started using that house as storage. One day, I went back to visit my grandparents who still lived in the area. But there was a wild thunderstorm and it cut the electricity for the entire block. PUD told us it would be at least a week before the power would get back on. So we had the idea to go to our old home and stay there until power was restored. We went back to the house and tried to unlock the front door with no success. I tried unlocking the back door and that didn't work either. So I broke in. When I did that, there was a scream inside the house that rang out like thunder. I ran in and searched the house. We found nothing. Needless to say, we went and got a hotel room, and my grandparents would never go back into that house again. A few months later, I cleaned the place out and sold it. Alex Hannibal, Aurora, Colorado. Well, Alex, that is one heck of a good story. So much collaborating stuff. I have no doubt that the little girl in the car accident was your invisible friend. And perhaps that painting was nothing more than a painting. Thank you for sharing this with us. It is truly amazing. Well, that's all we have for this time. If you have a story to share like Alex did, head to the main website at ronsamazingstories.com. Click on the story submission banner, leave your story, give it a title, and please tell me where you're from. I'll read it if I can. Our featured story comes from the OTR series Blackstone The Magic Detective. It was a 15-minute radio series which aired Sunday afternoons on the Mutual Broadcasting System. It ran for 2 seasons, starting in 1948. The series, starring Ed Jerome as the world's greatest living magician, was based on real-life magician Harry Blackstone Sr. Storylines usually opened with Blackstone telling his friends John and Rhoda about an experience from his past. At the end of each episode, Blackstone challenged the audience to find a solution to a magical mystery. Then Blackstone would outline the trick so that the listeners could perform it at home. Our story is titled The Riddle of the Eightball, and it first aired on March 17th, 1949.
The Magic Detective, starring the world's greatest living magician, Blackstone. He tells you the inside story of The Riddle of the Other Eightball. And right after the story, Blackstone will explain tricks that you yourself can perform, reveal the guarded secrets of the world's greatest living magician. Now stand by for Blackstone, the Magic Detective. I didn't know you played pool, Blackstone. I must take you on sometime. I'm a humdinger at it. Can almost guarantee to have you win.
You'll have to be terrible to have me beat you.
Blackstone doesn't play pool, but I do. I'll play with you sometime, Tom.
Well, Rhoda, that's a date. You must like pool an awful lot to carry an 8-ball around with you.
Oh, did you find that? That's not mine. It's Blackstone.
But you said he didn't play. Oh, I get it. This ball is part of his act.
No, it isn't, Don. That's just an odd 8-ball that I keep around as a souvenir. Odd in more ways than one.
What do you mean by that?
Look at that 8-ball. See anything funny about it?
No. No, I can't say that I do.
Turn it around in your hand. Turn it over. Look at all sides of it.
I still don't see anything funny.
Well, hang on to the 8-ball, and Blackstone will tell you all about it.
Well, Rhoda and I went out into the country to attend the engagement party of an old friend of mine, a man I'd known for years. Rhoda and I were standing on a balcony overlooking the river and watching the sunset.
Golly, the sunset's beautiful tonight.
It certainly is. That sky means it'll be clear tomorrow for the garden party.
Oh, good. Hey, there goes the bridegroom down the driveway. There's somebody with him. Doesn't look like any of the guests I've met so far.
I wonder if...
He has gray hair and a Van Dyke beard. At the top of the car down, I can see him perfectly. Wonder who it is.
Looks like Morton Fairgood's just bought a nice expensive wedding present for his bride-to-be.
The car? Oh, that's not new. I've seen that before.
No, your gray-haired, bearded friend is none other than Brevoort, the famous jeweler.
Oh, and he must be driving him to the train.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you remember Mr. Fairgood told us at lunch that he was buying a perfectly gigantic diamond for his gal. He said Brevoort was coming out this afternoon with several stones, and she was going to take her pick when she came out tomorrow.
Well, I was a little late to lunch. He must have told you that before I got down.
Yeah, I guess he did.
Who else was there when he told you about it?
Well, the Phillipses and Colonel Anderson and Mr. Barringer and Miss Nelson. I guess that was all.
They all heard it?
Of course they did. Well, hey, where are you going? The sunset isn't over yet.
Fairgood should have had better sense.
Oh, look, is there a fire or something? What's the hurry?
We're going down to Morton Fairgood's study. Quick. In here. This is the study.
Look, the safe over there near the windows. It's open.
I was afraid of this.
And here's a jewel case marked Brevoort.
Open it, Rhoda.
Empty.
Somebody has stolen those diamonds.
But who? Who could have done it?
Almost anyone. 5 people knew that Brevoort was coming and what he was bringing with him. Any one of those 5 could have come in here, lifted the diamonds, gone out again to mingle with the guests.
They're all in the game room playing pool, Blackstone. Do you hear the click of the balls?
Now, let's go in.
You're not going to accuse them all, are you? Fairgood would be sore as an owl. After all, some of his guests are innocent, and they're all his friends.
I have a hunch that one of the guests stole the diamonds. It would be a perfect scheme to hide them in the pool room and then come back for them, just before it was time to leave for town. If the jewels were found by some odd chance, it would be impossible to connect them with the thief. Come on. We'll go out through the garden and then into the pool room.
So no one will suspect that we've seen the safe?
Right. Come on, this way, Rhoda.
Well, you beat us this time, but you must give us a return bout. Hello, Miss Brent.
Hello.
You just missed a wonderful game.
Oh, I'm sorry. I love pool.
Some other time we can play, perhaps.
I hope so.
Well, I guess we'd all better dress for dinner. See you later.
Yes, that's right. What do we do now, Blackstone?
Hunt. You might start racking the balls, Rhoda. I'll look in the pockets. The diamonds may be hidden in one of them, though that seems too easy.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yes.
I can't imagine any of these people stealing from Morton Fairgood. They're his friends, and... Well, that's funny.
What is it?
Here are 2 8-balls.
Let me have them. This may be the secret. Thanks.
What is it, Blackstone? You look as though you'd found something.
This 8-ball is lighter than the other. I wonder... Yes.
But the 8-ball is unscrewing. It's a case.
And here are the diamonds.
And the inside of the ball is just like a honeycomb, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, but look, Blackstone, we found the stones, but we don't know who stole them.
But we'll find out, Rhoda. We'll find out.
Blackstone, I can't believe it. These people here are my most intimate friends. None of them would steal from me.
Then how do you account for the rifle safe and the diamonds in the billiard ball?
I can't account for it. I just can't. Did you leave Miss Brent to see if anyone goes back into the billiard room?
No. She's in the living room with the other guests.
Then we'll never know who stole the diamonds. The thief would go back in there, wouldn't he, and retrieve the extra 8-ball?
I think so, but he'd never do it if anyone were looking. That's why I've left the room unguarded.
Then we'll never know.
I think we will. I want you to go in to your guests and tell them.
A dreadful thing has happened. A dreadful thing. As you all know, Brevoort the jeweler came out this afternoon bringing some diamonds. The stones have vanished.
Who in the world could have taken them? I never heard
The thing that is worst of all, even worse than losing the stones, is the fact that all signs point to one of you as having stolen them. One of my friends.
Oh, that's impossible.
I wish it were. If one of you did steal the stones, though I can't believe it possible...
What? It's the billiard ball.
Don't touch that ball, anyone. Don't touch it. Mr. Barringer, I'm afraid that we'll have to pay a visit to the police.
Barringer? You?
Yes. Yes, I stole them. Every one of them.
Paul Barringer, you're like my own brother.
More like the poor relation. You've had everything that I've ever wanted, and I couldn't stand it anymore. You're marrying Elaine. I tried to, but you got her. You!
Come along, Barringer. Come on. It's too late now.
Well, what made Barringer throw the ball across the room? Remorse?
Oh, no, it wasn't remorse.
Ouch! Oh, that billiard ball I was holding. It's hot. It darn near burned my hand. What's the idea?
Well, that's what Barringer wanted.
Oh, you mean Barringer's 8-ball was hot like this one?
That is Barringer's 8-ball, and I played the same trick on you that I did on him.
Well, I don't understand.
Didn't you ever take chemistry in school?
Yes, I did, but what's that got to do with it?
Well, you remember that the inside of the 8-ball was honeycombed into little compartments. Well, after I removed the jewels, I filled the compartments with water and quicklime.
Oh, I remember. Water and quicklime mixed develop great heat.
Right.
Turn into slaked lime, don't they?
That's right. And Barringer had the ball in his pocket. He'd sneaked into the billiard room and taken it from the rack.
Yes, but why hadn't the ball burned the rack?
Because it required Barringer's turning the ball to mix the lime and water. The ball was literally burning a hole in his pocket.
And into him. And when it got too hot, he couldn't stand it anymore, and he had to throw it away. And throw the whole game away, too.
Well, I'll be darned. So another mystery was solved by magic. Well, Blackstone, I see you're going to show us a trick with a glass.
Only this isn't a glass, Don. It's a goblet.
You ought to know the difference, Don. A goblet is a glass with a stem.
Well, anyway, I'm glad it's going to be a trick with a glass or a goblet.
Why, Don?
Well, because Blackstone won't be borrowing another coin and losing it for me.
But I am borrowing a coin, Don. Let's make it a big one. $50.
Well, if I must. Here.
And now a handkerchief.
Going up. One handkerchief.
Now we're ready. First, I put the $50 under the handkerchief, right in the very center.
Well, I can see the shape of the coin, even though it's under the handkerchief.
And then I hold the handkerchief over the goblet so that it's covered along with the coin.
Right you are. Now what?
Now I drop the coin into the goblet.
Well, so now the coin is in the goblet, so what?
So I'm going to ask Don to hold the goblet.
Well, why let Don hold the goblet? Don't I belong in this trick?
Yes, but the $50 belongs to Don. Suppose you lift the handkerchief, Don, and take another look at the coin.
All right. What? I say.
I'll say, the coin is gone.
Completely vanished out of the glass.
Well, you were holding it.
And that leaves you a $50 out, Don. So I'll take a $50 from my own pocket and give it to you.
The same $50?
No, 2 quarters. And there they are.
Well, how did you ever do that, Blackstone?
Well, you try to solve the riddle, Rhoda. And if you don't, I'll be back to explain it.
I just can't make a coin vanish in this goblet, Blackstone. How did you manage to do
Well,
it?
let me have the coin on the goblet, and I'll show you. Only this time I won't use the handkerchief.
Well, that's a help, because without the handkerchief, we can see what really happened.
Well, here you are, Don. I held the coin over the goblet. Under the handkerchief, of course. But do you notice how I hold the goblet?
Well, yes, it's standing squarely on your lower hand. Does that help the trick?
It does, because before I drop the coin, I do this.
What? Well, you tilted the glass.
And we couldn't see it while it was covered by the handkerchief.
And you've tilted it so far that the coin won't drop into the goblet.
That's the secret of the trick. When I drop the coin, watch what it does.
But the coin struck the outside of the goblet.
It landed on the foot, so it slid right into your hand.
But it sounded as though it landed in the goblet.
It did exactly.
And that plunk on the foot of the goblet was just like a coin coming to rest inside the glass itself.
So now you know the trick, Don. I handed you an empty goblet and kept the coin in my hand.
And what did you do with $50?
I dropped it into my pocket when I brought out the 2 quarters.
Say, this stunt is easy, Blackstone.
Easy if you don't use too large a goblet and practice it a few times.
Even I can do it.
I hope you like that trick, ladies and gentlemen. And until next time, this is Blackstone saying good magic and goodbye.
You know what? Why play one of the Blackstone mysteries when 2 would be better? Here's another episode titled The Riddle of the 7 Zombies. This completes my promise from the top of the show that we would indeed have more zombies. Also, this one's a bit more creepy than Stolen Diamonds. This aired a couple months later on July 17th, 1949.
The Magic Detective, starring the world's greatest living magician, Blackstone. He tells you the story of the Riddle of the 7 Zombies. And right after the story, Blackstone will reveal the guarded secrets of the world's greatest living magician. And now, stand by for Blackstone, the Magic Detective. Do you believe in zombies, Blackstone? Do we, Rhoda?
I certainly do.
Well, you certainly sound sure of that, Rhoda.
I am.
Why? What do you mean?
I've seen a zombie, Alan.
Oh, you're kidding. No, she's not. See that drum there on the wall? That shabby old one? Yes, I see it. What about it? Listen. Why, it's beating all by itself.
That drum saved me from being killed by the zombies, Alan.
Rhoda, you sound serious.
I am.
Certainly I can tell when you and Blackstone are kidding, but this time I'm not sure.
Well, I'll tell you the story, Alan. Maybe you'll believe it, maybe you won't. I don't know what to believe myself. It all started down in San Domingo, where Blackstone and I were on tour. That's quite a collection of old magic equipment you found belonging to that old magician, isn't it, Blackstone?
Most of it's pretty worthless, but there are a few good things. What are you planning to do today?
Oh, I don't know. I thought I might walk up to that old castle on the hill and look around. It looks fascinating.
I wouldn't do that if I were you, Rhoda. The natives say the place is haunted by zombies.
Oh, come now, Blackstone. You can't expect me to believe in mythical zombies.
Nobody's ever known very much about zombies. There may very well be such lost souls. I wouldn't mess around with them if I were you.
Oh, I'm not afraid. I won't be gone long. If I'm not back by noon, you'll know the zombies have got me. I started out early and arrived at the castle. It was partially ruined, and I had a marvelous time prowling around through it. It seemed deserted, and yet at times I had a feeling that someone was following me. A feeling that I wasn't alone. I can't explain it exactly. Well, I went around one corner of the building, and there sat an old man with long white hair flowing over his shoulders. I wasn't even surprised to see him. He looked sort of right sitting there. He had a drum in front of him. So? I was just looking around the castle. I hope you don't mind. Well, I'm not going to hurt anything, you know. Why don't you answer me? You might at least speak to me and tell me to get out. It scares me to have you just sit there. Well, answer me. Say something. I'll go away if you want me to, but say something.
It is no use to speak to him. Oh. He hears not, neither does he speak.
Oh.
Did no one tell you that you should not have come here?
Well, I didn't mean to trespass. I just thought I'd look around, that's all.
I do not like to have anyone looking around my castle.
Well, I'm sorry. I'll just... What's that? What's the mute beating the drum for?
Here comes another visitor.
This one I see comes into the castle in direct line of the mute's vision. He is beating on his drum to call forth the zombie guard.
Oh, look. The rocks are opening.
Yes, they are opening. Those are the coffins of the living dead.
The visitor is coming nearer.
He is a stranger to me. I do not like strangers. But my zombies will attend to him. And they would have attended to you had you come in the usual way instead of sneaking in behind Zimla the mute. Watch.
People are coming out of the caverns in the rock.
Not people. Zombies.
That man. You've got to save that man. Those zombies of yours are surrounding him.
That is what they are supposed to do.
They're rushing him toward that cliff. He can't save himself. He can't fight them off. Oh, you've got to do something. He'll be killed.
They are at the edge of the cliff now.
Oh! The man's fallen off the cliff.
It always happens this way.
What are you signaling like that for?
Listen to the drums now.
Oh, they're beating faster. The zombies have turned from the edge of the cliff, and they're coming back. They're coming back. Oh, let me go.
No. You are the first who has ever seen the zombies at work, and you shall not live to tell. After my zombies have rested, they shall take care of you. You shall not live to go and spread the word of their work. Are you ready now for the zombies to finish with you?
No, let me go.
Oh, no, that would not be fair to my zombies. It is a long time since I have given them a pretty girl to kill. They will be happy. They will do my bidding for many years to come.
Oh, don't signal him. Don't signal to the dead drummer. Oh, don't. Oh, no. Oh, no, not the drum.
But how else can I call forth my living dead servants? Here they come now. The rocks are opening.
They're so white. They move so slowly that they were asleep.
But they are strong. Soon you two will plunge over that cliff under the rocks below. Another sad accident to someone who carelessly lost their footing on the cliff.
They're coming nearer. They're coming nearer.
Let go of that girl.
Oh, Blackstone, oh, thank heaven.
Take that, you helper.
The zombies. They're surrounding him. Blackstone, the zombies.
You're trapped, Panjano. Trapped by your own self. But not for long. I'll give the signal for Zimbla to speed the drums, and they'll go back to their coffins.
He's signaling, but the drums are still beating slowly. The zombies are pushing in ahead of him.
Speed, Zimbla. The signal. Help! Help!
Oh, he's fallen from the cliff.
The zombies are going after him. They're falling, too.
And the drum, it hasn't beat the signal to call them back.
It will never call them out again, Rhoda.
Oh, Blackstone. Blackstone, I'm so glad you came.
Tell me, how much of that is true?
All of it.
The zombies?
I saw them, Alan. I felt their cold hands on my arms. I saw them.
How did you get there, Blackstone? Remember, Rhoda said if she didn't come back by noon, it would mean the zombies had got her. But she was just joking. That's what I thought, too. But she didn't come back. I got worried, and then some of the natives came down to the village bearing the body of a man who had fallen off that cliff. He was dead.
And the natives had said that he came running out of the castle and fell over the cliff, and that they had heard drums beating slowly.
And after he had fallen, the drums beat fast.
They claimed they had seen figures who had turned back as the drums speeded up.
I had a feeling that there was some connection between those drums and the death. And also Rhoda's vanishing. I had found a mechanical drum in the effects of the old magician, and I took it with me, substituting it for the one the deaf mute generally plays.
And the mute couldn't hear that the drum didn't speed up when he beat it faster.
Do you really believe that those people were zombies?
Oh, Alan, I don't know what to believe. There were people there, I know that. Maybe they were zombies, maybe they were poor souls who had lost their minds, maybe they were servants who were drugged, I don't know.
All either of us know is that the magic drum saved her. And so another mystery was solved by magic. Yes, Alan. Now, Alan, here's a trick with a box of matches, a box of penny matches that are really magical.
Well, I don't see anything magical so far.
You will in a moment. Now, let's slide the drawer open and see which is the top side. That's the top side. I see the matches. Good. I'll take a few out and push the drawer shut again. Now, let's see. About how full would you say the box was?
About half full. I saw the matches, too.
Half a box is just about enough. I don't think I could magnetize any more.
What do you mean, magnetize them?
Matches are made out of wood. They're not magnetic. I see that you two aren't up on modern science. Very well. Watch. First, I turn the box over.
So now the drawer is upside down.
Clever girl, Rhoda. Now, what will happen if I remove the drawer?
Why, the matches will fall out of it, of course.
Your turn for the top of the class, Alan, even though you're wrong. We magicians have learned how to defy the law of gravitation. Now, watch.
Why, you've taken the drawer out upside down, but the matches don't fall from it.
Oh, maybe they're glued in.
Oh, but they can, Alan. Didn't you hear Blackstone rattle the matches a few moments ago?
Why, so he did. And I'll do more. I'll pick up a loose match from the table here, put it up underneath the inverted drawer.
And it stays there, like the rest.
Exactly. Now, here's another loose match. Up into the drawer, the magnetism grips it. And stays. I'll try one more, only I'm afraid it'll be one too many. Ah, yes, there they go.
Oh, say, those matches weren't stuck. It must have been magnetism that held them.
Well, think it over, Rhoda. And if you can't give a better answer, I'll be back to tell you how it was done.
Well, Blackstone, I've examined the matchbox and those matches, but there's nothing wrong with any of them.
You've examined all of them?
Well, I've looked them over, most of them.
What about this one?
Well, that's just a broken match. Most every matchbox has a few.
But this is the one that did the trick. First, let's put those matches into the box.
All right.
And now for the short match. Here's where it was originally, Rhoda.
Why, you're wedging it across the center of the drawer, and it's just long enough to fit.
And it holds the matches in place, even though they're loose enough to shake.
But why didn't Alan and I see that wedge when you opened the drawer with the top side up?
Because I only opened it halfway.
Oh.
I turned the box over before I drew the drawer completely out. And then the matches stayed.
And you even poked a few more up into the drawer.
Yes, but at last I pushed up one too many.
Yes, I remember, and the matches fell.
Because I knocked the wedge loose so they would fall.
Well, there are the matches all over the table.
All demagnetized. And here's the matchbox ready to be examined. Just try that trick yourself and you'll learn how good it is. I hope you like that trick, ladies and gentlemen. And until next time, this is Blackstone saying good magic and goodbye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed those blasts from the past. The show, while it was well received, didn't last very long. Most believe that it should have had a better time slot than Sunday afternoons. It probably would have done quite well as a daily serial during the week. Now, as I mentioned, the show was based on real magician Harry Blackstone Sr. He, of course, was a famed stage magician and illusionist of the 20th century. He began his career as a magician in his teens and was popular through World War II as a USO entertainer. He was often billed as the Great Blackstone. His son, Harry Blackstone Jr., also became a famous magician. How about that?
As read by amazing stories, read by amazing people.
This time on As Read By, we have a very short science fiction story titled Resurrection. It was written by Robert J. Shea and is read for us by P.J. Vanderkoy.
You're a fascinating person, the girl said. I've never met anyone like you before. Tell me your story again. The man was short and stocky, with Asiatic features and a long, stringy mustache. The whole story? He asked. It would take a lifetime to tell you. He stared out the window at the yellow sun and the red sun. He still hadn't gotten used to seeing two suns. But that was minor, really, when there were so many other things he had to get used to. A robot waiter, with long, thin metal tubes for arms and legs, glided over. When he'd first seen one of these, he thought it was a demon. He tried to smash it. They'd had trouble with him at first. They had trouble with me at first, he said. I can imagine, said the girl. How did they explain it to you? It was hard. They had to give me the whole history of medicine. It was years before I got over the notion that I was up in the everlasting blue sky or under the earth or something. He grinned at the girl. She was the first person he'd met since they got him a job and gave him a home in a world uncountable light years from the one he'd been born on. When did you begin to understand? They simply taught all of history to me, including the part about myself. Then I began to get the picture. Funny, I wound up teaching them a lot of history. I bet you know a lot. I do, the man with the Asiatic features said modestly. Anyway, they finally got across to me that in the 22nd century, they had explained the calendar to me, too. I used a different one in my day. They had learned how to grow new limbs on people who had lost arms and legs. That was the first real step, said the girl. It was a long time till they got to the second step, he said. They learned how to stimulate life and new growth in people who had already died. The next part is the thing I don't understand, the girl said. Well, said the man, as I get it, they found that any piece of matter that has been part of an organism retains a physical memory of the entire structure of the organism of which it was a part, and that they could reconstruct that structure from a part of a person, if that was all that was left of him. From there, it was just a matter of pushing the process back through time. They had to teach me a whole new language to explain that one. Isn't it wonderful that intergalactic travel gives us room to expand? Said the girl. I mean, now that every human being that ever lived has been brought back to life and will live forever? Same problem I had, me and my people, said the man. We were cramped for space. This age has solved it a lot better than I did, but they had to give me a whole psychological overhauling before I understood that. Tell me about your past life, said the girl, staring dreamily at him. Well, 6,000 years ago, I was born in the Gobi Desert, on Earth, said Genghis Khan, sipping his drink.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that short one. It first appeared in Fantastic Universe, December 1957. I thought it was pretty neat. What did you think? That was episode number 551, and Robert Feast, Alex Hannibal, and PJ Vanderkoy all took part in some amazing stories today. My thanks go out to all of you. If you want to follow the podcast or the blog, head to ronsamazingstories.com. There you will find any of the links I mentioned and how to contact us. Do you want to help the show? The best thing you can do is to tell your friends all about it, and please leave reviews or feedback wherever you listen. Clicking that follow or like button makes us grow. Thank you for listening, and I hope you come again to find out what are Ron's Amazing Stories.
All of the vintage audio used in the podcast is believed to be in the public domain. Ron's Amazing Stories does not own the rights to any of the old-time radio used here. If you hold the rights to any of the shows played, please contact us immediately at ronsamazingstories.com.